We all experience the lockdown differently depending on the country we're in or our specific circumstances. Now, states and countries are opening up, and with that, our lives wake up to new realities. We'll bring you stories from around the world as how people experience the lockdown and what their lives look like in its aftermath. Today's episode, we're going to talk to Eva. Eva is a dentist. She lives in Vienna, Austria. Hi, Eva. If you could please tell us about your experience in lockdown and when did it start and how did it look for you?
Lockdown here, as far as I remember, started on the 16th of March, and everything went really fast. I mean, we knew that something was going on. We saw the situation in Italy, so we knew something was going to happen. But for some reason, even though we knew it, it came from one moment to the other.
So, did you have to close your practice because you are a dentist, right? You had to close right away?
No, we didn't. We didn't also receive any recommendations in the beginning, so we were mostly left by ourselves to decide what to do. But based on what the little we knew at this moment, most of us colleagues decided to close down our practices and leave them open only for acute treatments.
So emergency treatment, right?
Exactly, pain management, emergency treatments.
You had to take extraordinary precautions when the patients came in, I imagine, right? Masks and gloves and...
Exactly. So the problem we had, especially in the beginning, was that we didn't have any protection material at all. It wasn't possible to order gloves anymore, simple surgical masks, because a lot of them are coming from somewhere abroad, China, for example, is China products, a lot of them. So we just didn't have anything. We ran out of everything, and we didn't have proper protection material. And also, we didn't know what is the proper way to do it. So it was just throughout the time that we established some hygiene protocols, that we adapted workflows slowly, exchanging with colleagues from all over the world, which was really very constructive, I thought, because everybody was working together in those times. And now, I think we found some really good protocols also based on the data we have so far,
How do the protocols look, right?
Yeah, so for my office, the door of my office is always closed. So appointments are made on the phone. On the phone, we also try to prepare for the treatments. So we would ask the patient which problem they have, if they take any medication, look into their patient chart. So already we know what we have to do with. Then the patient knocks on the door, is basically coming in, disinfecting his hands. We instruct them to wear a mask when they enter our practice. And then also we try to have like only one patient or maximum two patients in the waiting room, which sit apart, and also make the time in our practice really effective. So don't talk unnecessarily much. We don't try to delay things, just be really effective in what we do, And then we have the system for us, like hygiene protocols. We wear gowns, we wear hats. We do have FFP2, FFP3 masks for treatments that would produce aerosol, which we know is infectious. And we do have surgical masks as well with like a shield, like a face shield, which we also use. And of course, then very strict hand hygiene, and all the surfaces are disinfected after every patient, very meticulously. So it takes a lot of time and energy. It's very time consuming. The pace has gone down a lot. We can't treat as many patients as we used to before. And everything has become a little impersonal. So this is what I don't like about it. I mean, it's awesome that we have the possibility to improve our hygiene and everything. But for the patient, I have to say, it has got a lot of disadvantages as well from the personal point of view, you know, from that we don't talk maybe that much, you know, we try not to waste time.
Yes, yes. So yes, because sometimes when I used to go to the dentist, we were talking about my daughter, my husband. You know, we were doing chit chat between, I know, whatever she was doing, or she was talking to me about stuff. But I guess all that is gone right now, right?
Yeah, we try to do that, but I have to remind myself not to do it that much because we have responsibility for the patients and our staff, and the situation, you know, is like that, so we have to adapt. And also, it is very difficult to breathe under these masks we have to wear. So I can barely talk. I have to admit, it's hard.
Some people say the pandemic is a way that the universe is trying to send us a message. Um, if that's so, if you believe the same thing, what do you think the message would be?
I think we really have to rethink our lifestyles, you know, because I think we've come to the point where everybody, or most of us, me as well, try to take out most of our lives that we can. Like everything has to be to the maximum, you know, maximum speed, consuming a lot, traveling like crazy around the globe, like the further the better, you know, a lot of friends, everything has to be big, fast, huge, and maybe you should appreciate more something that is around you, which is also beautiful. Yeah, I just realized that, I mean, I moved into my flat over a year ago, and I didn't know my neighbors at all. I didn't know the people in the surroundings. And then now for the first time I was stuck like in my district, like within a few meters from supermarket to home, to a little square with a small grocery store where they were still selling coffee for takeaway. And I was just going there every afternoon after work to read a book and sit on the bench and drink my coffee. And I met so many people, and I never realized they were there before because I didn't even look. I was running all the time and thinking about different things, and they were there all the time. It was so nice to see them for the first time. It was a good experience, I think.
What do you think it will be the thing that you will most fondly remember from the lockdown?
People were showing their emotions more, and I think in a more sincere way, because they were all in an extreme situation. Mm-hmm. And we've had some really, you know, nice talks, discussions on topics that I missed a lot, and this was nice to see how they open up and show what they really feel.
So was that with strangers or members of your family? These discussions you're talking about?
Yeah, friends and family, but also strangers. I mean, for me, of course, I've had contact with patients, so I've noticed that in patients as well. They were coming in and telling stories and getting emotional and asking us how we do, you know. This was touching as well. So I saw, okay, they do appreciate us as well, our work, because a lot of people took it for granted to go to the doctor, to the dentist, and suddenly it was something special. It wasn't something you could do on the daily basis.
I find there is a little bit of a difference between European countries and the US. In Europe, I would say people trust their governments more and are more willing to comply, whereas in the US, people are questioning a lot more and make their own decisions to a point. So you're saying also in Austria, people trust their government and were pretty much follow the rules, or you had some I don't know, protests or
yeah. Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong about staying critical, right? I felt that in Austria, really, a government was quite quick in imposing restrictions, and people really, in the beginning, they were trusting a lot. I think there was a point when this started breaking apart a little bit. It was around Easter, when they had some bits, I would say, strange rules implemented, which nobody really understood. The more the longer this is going on, the more I have the feeling that people are getting critical about it. To me, this is not essentially negative because, you have to really understand what you do, what's going on. So it's good that people try to understand. But of course, now that the restrictions have been loosened, it's going into the extremes. You have the people who stick to some quarantine rules still, and the others, I feel they just kind of want to finish this chapter and go on as if nothing had happened, which might be difficult in the long term because the virus is still among us, right?
So you are a medical professional. How do you see us coming out of this situation?
Firstly, I think that we will have to live with this virus for a long time. So it will be essential how we deal with it. Definitely, we have to adapt hygiene in everyday life, as well as, of course, in practices in the medical field. And then we have to just hope for an adequate therapy, or maybe also a vaccine, though I see this vaccine topic a little bit critically, because as we know, this virus is mutating, changing a lot.
How is the situation in Austria? Do you have a lot of cases? Did you have a lot of cases? Were the hospitals overwhelmed? What happened there?
No, actually not. We were lucky. As I said, the government imposed the quarantine restrictions very fast because kind of Italy was maybe a role model because it's a neighboring state. So we've seen that we have to react very fast, and we really didn't reach this peak we were afraid of. Of course, there was a lot of, disorganized situations, panic in the beginning, people coming into hospitals, reorganizing. So of course we've had a few cases, but the hospitals were really quite well prepared to deal with it, I think.
How many cases, deaths approximately are now in Austria?
The official statistics say 620 deaths.
Okay, that's what population does Austria have?
Yeah, we have 8.9 million. So in comparison to other countries, it's a small population, but still the cases have been quite
quite low. I mean, yeah.
They say we've had 15,874 cases so far, which they know they were tested positively.
So it's comparable to Switzerland, right? The situation is comparable to Switzerland.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think Germany has dealt with it quite well as well.
Yes, very, very well. Yes, and was there contact tracing in place in Austria?
No, they were thinking about imposing something like that, with an app. The Red Cross was planning to launch an app. Yeah, you can install it deliberately. I mean, if you want.
Okay, so it will be voluntarily. It's just not going to be, if you're infected, the hospital, the government is not going to ask you to do it. It's if you want to register yourself.
Yeah. I think this would be really difficult to explain to the people, that they are being tracked all the time. Their private sphere is intruded.
It's the same fear here in the United States, and I think it's a legitimate fear. It's also you don't know how people react when they they realize they are next to somebody who is infected. Because they also say there are apps that can show you if you are next to somebody in the proximity of somebody that is infected, and I think that will freak out people. And of course, contact tracing could be not only that, but it could be the person is infected, and then they ask, okay, who did you meet in the past, I don't know, 5 days? And
if you're cheating on your partner, then probably you might have.
I'm not gonna say it, right? Yeah, there's that too. Like that guy Neil something in the UK, who was part of the task force to implement the lockdown in UK, the lead infectious disease specialist, and he was infected and he met his mistress during the time he was infected, and they found out, and he had to resign. I mean,
yeah, I've read about
it.
it. I mean, but yeah, as I say, I mean, it's his private topic, but of course, if you know he works like in public, this is a big issue, of course. So that's a problem, definitely.
So I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that even in Europe, this is a concern. Private information and individual liberties are a concern. Some people are critical here. Oh, you're, maybe you should give up some freedoms because it's an emergency. But I believe we have to observe people's rights in any situation, because then you don't know when it starts and when it stops.
I think you have to be very, very sensitive about this topic. And the question is if all those imposed rules can be or will be reversed after this critical situation is over, because nobody will tell us, right?
Yes, that is one of the biggest concerns. After 9/11, we are told there will be some measures in place that will be temporary, like the Patriot Act. And the Patriot Act never went away. And fast forward 10 years later, we found out that all of us are basically listened to, all our conversations are listened to, just in case one of us becomes a terrorist. So now with this pandemic is another opportunity for other measures to be implemented, and we don't know when and if they are going to go away. Is that a concern over there too?
Yeah, definitely. And also, we really have to see if our democratic values are not gonna fall apart being confronted by this pandemic. You have always also the freedom of speech is very precious, and it's very hard to have critical voices, to hear critical voices here. So this is the moment, I think, where they should really try to put a conversation on the plate where people who have different opinions can talk about the measures being taken, about their point of view, which is not really happening now. And I feel I can see that also for myself, that people are really getting more and more upset about it, because they have their own critical thoughts, and now they want to see that they are really taken into consideration, and then people talk about it in public like experts, because obviously there are people who have different opinions as well. And this is also interesting, I think. There are always different solutions to a situation, and you should at least be able to talk about them, I think.
To talk about everything. Here too, people are very polarized. There are people who believe in lockdown and these are the measures, and you listen to only some experts that they put their trust in, and are not willing to listen to other experts and other opinions. It just surprised me. I thought this will bring this whole situation will bring all of us together, or come out more united. But it surprised me we come out of it a little bit more polarized in some ways.
Yeah, this is definitely what is happening at the moment. I believe that to this situation, maybe there was no really proper solution, because it was very difficult to anticipate in the beginning, and so it is now, although we have a little more data, how all this would develop, right? So it's hard to be too critical, because there was decision that had to be taken, and it was taken, and okay, we've reached the goal, we've had some success also, but then you have to rediscuss
the measures,
reevaluate the measures,
evaluate. Yeah.
I miss that a little bit, and I feel that a lot of other people do as well. I don't quite know what I'm more worried about at the moment, that the fact that our democratic values are starting to fall apart, like in Hungary, with Orban. I mean, like a catastrophe, basically, you know. And then
I don't know about that.
about
What's
the virus, I mean, what's more dangerous at the moment? I don't know. For us in Austria, the numbers weren't so bad. So I would
what
say,
happened in Hungary?
yeah, I think that Orban, more or less, he disclosed the parliament and is able to kind of rule by himself, you know. So he's like, it's like slowly turning into an authoritarian regime there. And
Oh
of
my
course,
God.
it was argumented by the, how do you say in English, by the restrictions caused by the coronavirus. But of course, he was following his personal goals, and which were
Of course.
clear. So I mean, this is not good what's going on. And also, because you asked me about people following the rules and not being critical, as I said, in Europe more and more people are getting critical about it. My boyfriend said in Germany there's a lot of demonstrations going on already. Maybe not so much because people don't accept that there is a virus, but there has never been a dialogue on TV, or like where people could tell their opinions from different corners of
Yeah.
you know, like different points of view. And so they feel like they are being, you know, ruled and just pushed into one direction without being able to rethink it. That's hard, I think.
It's very hard. The government, and as you said, which is the biggest danger? The virus or the loss of liberties? Because here somebody told me, and it's stuck into my mind. Somebody said when the founding fathers put into the U.S. Constitution the freedom of speech, they didn't say the freedom of speech or assembly or expressing your religion will be there all the time, except when there is a pandemic. And they knew pandemic, right? At the time when they wrote the Constitution, they don't have our medical system and our, technological advantages, but they didn't say your rights will be there except when there is a plague or a pandemic. And now all of a sudden we are in a pandemic and our rights are suspended. You know, they in Sweden, they never closed down. They never mandated wearing a mask. They just informed people of the dangers. So, I mean, people take the risk, and it's their problem. They're gonna overwhelm the system, the medical system. They'll see people should be informed. Look, the medical system, the hospitals are overwhelmed. People are dying on the hallway. Do you want to be in that situation or not? Just inform people. Let people decide for themselves how they want to protect or not protect themselves. I think that dialogue should be there and not impose things that will never go away. I'm afraid the pandemic will be long gone and we'll still have restrictions in place.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that as well. I mean, you have to consider that I think Sweden really has a public health system they can really rely on, so they could potentially take the risk maybe more than other countries could do that, because they have more respirators, more hospital beds. So you also have to, you know, really see it from country to country, because the situation is really not the same everywhere. It's been put like into one pot, but it definitely isn't. It's very individual for, you know, all the countries. But yeah, as you say, I mean, they're taking responsibility away from people, and what happens is first they took responsibility away from them, they put everybody under quarantine, and then now that everybody should have this personal responsibility, like nobody cares anymore. There's no responsibility in any direction. It's like, you know, unless the government doesn't say something, we don't care. So maybe it would have been better to educate everybody from the beginning to take personal responsibility in this crisis, to take an active decision and really critically evaluate what makes sense.
So after the quarantine finished, did you do something special, something that you couldn't do before when the measures were stricter? How did the measures relax in Austria last week?
Yeah, so smaller shops have been opened, and also a lot of sports facilities, mainly those for outdoor sports. And some, I think, kindergartens have been open. Some kids could also go to school. And this weekend, I believe, also bars and restaurants are going to open. So this is gonna be a very interesting weekend for all of us.
I did. Oh, because you are able to go outside. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll see if like the hordes of people will be going out partying like crazy, or if people are going to be a bit reserved about it and just, you know, wait what's gonna happen. I'm not sure. I mean, I can wait to get out as well, so maybe I'll go for a drink or two, but I think I'll stick outdoors for now just and then wait maybe a little longer. But what I did first, because you asked me, were two main things. One was that, of course, my boyfriend, who is in Germany, crossed the border and finally we could meet again. And the other thing was that I went to play tennis with my dad. That was basically the first thing we did. We were just so happy to be outside and hit the ball. And you know,
is there a fear that a new wave will start after all these openings?
Yeah. I mean, of course there is, but I'm quite positive that maybe the rate of infections has been higher than we know, because not too many people have been tested yet, and that there is some immunity already. But we will see. I mean, I think there might be a second wave. They say maybe around fall, you know, September, October. But I'm quite positive that it's not going to be too bad, that we can really deal with it. Yeah, that's my hope. We'll see if I'm right.
Tourists, if they take a test for COVID-19 in exchange of a fee, which is not low, is about 200 euros per person. If they take that test, they can travel in Austria without going into quarantine for 14 days. I think that is brilliant. So you think you're going to see some tourism soon?
Yeah, I think people can't wait to start traveling again. Actually, so.
You're not looking forward to seeing tourists.
No, I know that a friend of mine, she came in from Great Britain with her husband and her baby on Friday, I think, and they were tested on the airport also. And they even tested her 1-year-old daughter. They were all negative, luckily, so they didn't have to go into quarantine, which is really good.
But I think Austria is on the forefront, even among the European countries, to do that. I don't think another country is doing that right now in Europe.
No, I haven't heard about it yet. Yeah.
So that's Austria is one step ahead. And opening probably is not gonna see a flood of tourists, but still, it will be a tourist destination this summer. If other countries are not opening up, you might see a lot of tourists going to Austria just because of this measure. But I was also reading an article where airlines and airports are going to implement lots of measures. And probably this measure of testing is going to go away because of the other measures that they want to implement, like areas where all the travelers are going to be disinfected. Their bodies, they're going to go through these tunnels with disinfectant through the airports. No luggage on the plane itself. Everything will be checked in. Airlines don't want to serve meals anymore, even for long haul flights. Some won't serve meals at all, or they'll serve like packaged.
You bring your own doggy bag?
Yeah, I think they want to give you everything packaged or something. They want to, make sanitizer available everywhere. They're going to take a longer time to turn around airplanes. They'll take at least 4 hours to disinfect a plane before it's put back into use, whereas before it was a quick turnaround.
Yeah, I don't know. this is very idealistic, all of it. I can tell you that I don't believe that this is gonna work this way with all those measures. I mean, I've seen it in daily life. I've heard it from friends who were already flying, as I told you about my friend. So basically what happened is they said, okay, they would leave one seat in between every passenger, you know, and what happened is the flight was overbooked. It was cut from the floor to the ceiling, people sitting in every row full, you know. Okay, they were wearing masks, but I mean, even I think the air conditioning in the plane is spreading like all the germs everywhere, basically.
They say they have these filters that filter the air, and
okay,
I don't know. That's what they say. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't see that. Sorry. I just no. It's not gonna work. But you know, maybe it's good business because they can charge people like twice the price, and then you pay 200 for the test and go to the coffee shop for 3 hours to wait for the result. Then yeah, that is
it's
like
good business.
Turning
good
the
business for
economy on. I mean, it's smart as well, but everything it turns down to this vaccine topic. What they tell us at the moment is once we have a vaccine, we can loosen the restrictions. We are on the safe side, which is a nice imagination. But if it is going to work that way, I don't know, because as you said, this vaccine topic's also very ambivalent. So let's wait. I'm still hoping for a therapy that makes sense. Probably this will happen faster and will solve the problem maybe to some extent also. But this hygiene thing in the daily life, I don't know. Hand hygiene, yes. Distancing as well, but a lot of restrictions. Didn't prove to work. I think.
Yeah. But even distancing, how long are we gonna go without I don't know, hugging? And I know in Europe it's customary to kiss twice, to hug more than here. But all that is changed, and are we really going to let go of all that human interaction habits?
No, I don't think so. It's gonna be forever. I mean, I don't know about the handshake. Maybe we'll skip that for good. But no, just wait. We'll see. I mean, we've had the flu. There are a lot of viruses. There will be other viruses. We just have to learn what it is about, find out more about it, about the also long-term effects on the body. And once we know, I think things will go pretty much back to more or less normal, maybe with higher hygiene standards and more awareness, which is positive. But we all need this contact, like, right? Body contact, personal contact. I mean, if we skip that, we'll have far more psychological problems in the society than we've had before. So I don't know if this is gonna be positive for us.
So what do you think the economical impact and social and even mental impact on people from this lockdown and this epidemic?
Yeah. Well, I think it is going to be more severe than people are aware of yet, because we just came out of this lockdown. A lot of people have lost their jobs, but we at the moment kind of still on the safe side because we do have some savings, but it is gonna, I think this is gonna hit us harder than we expect, I'm afraid. And as I said, I mean, even in Austria, a lot of people have already lost their jobs. I don't know, I've had some data here if you wanna know. It's gone from, I think, 8.1% unemployment in February and March to 12.8 already. So, and it's maybe
even not bad. That's not bad. Just 4% up.
Was in the US. Yeah, it seems little, yeah. But I've just noticed impatience. I mean, when you talk to people, you just start realizing that a lot of existences have been devastated, especially for people who own hotels, restaurants, artists, also to the, to the cultural scene. I mean, we have, especially in Vienna, we have so many small theaters which are so important, because they have their own how do you say, like, own place, and they are critical. They have open discussions to different topics concerning the society, politics, and these are gonna be hit the hardest by this crisis. So a lot of them will have to close down. So what does it mean to our cultural life also? This is very severe, and we are just starting to realize the problem. Also psychologically, I mean, I suppose that this has had a big impact on us all, on some of us more, on some of us less, but there are families broken down, there are people who don't know how to manage their future, and of course there are people who've had maybe some issues or problems before which have just worsened by this situation. So
What do you mean families broken down right now due to the lockdown? Or
I think so, yeah. Also, I mean, I think that definitely, some relationships that have been unstable before, when you put then those people in a room or in a small flat for weeks, and then, you have a lot of awkward situations. So probably also some families will break down because of this crisis. I mean, maybe others will have some positive outcome as well. But this is definitely an issue. Yeah.
So you're saying you're gonna go this weekend to a bar, but sit outside, right? I am dying to do that. I'm dying to go to a restaurant again. Yes, I am.
Well, the plan what is for now to, I mean, we have like the Danube has got like one channel which is actually passing through the city center, and there are a lot of like outdoor bars, or you can just sit there, grab a beer, and sit at the Danube and chat. So this is like hope for this weekend.
Sign me up. I mean, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Danube.
I can send you a picture.
Oh yes, please. Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just afraid. Maybe you turn a little bit strange after some time if you don't see too many people, and then you're not used to it anymore, and then you meet friends and you're just a bit strange. We'll see how this turns out.
If my next vacation will be in Austria, where should I go first?
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Depends if you're a nature kind of person or a more like a city trip kind of person. But
both.
Definitely there's tell me.
Both.
Yeah, both. Okay. Well, there is one place I personally wanted to see. There is a lake. It's called Green Lake in Styria, which obviously is very beautiful because it's got like really very special green kind of water in it. I think it's a mountain lake, and I always wanted to go there. So maybe this would be a good destination. And of course, the Austrian Alps are always amazing. So this is, something you should definitely have on your list. And yeah, Vienna, of course. I mean, I'm a Viennese person. I have to make some advertisement for Vienna. But I think it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world, indeed. I've seen a lot of cities, and Vienna is definitely on the top of this list. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Eva, for your perspective. I really appreciate your insight and how life looks like in lockdown in Vienna. And I cannot wait to hear more in another episode. Thank you.